So now, we'd like to welcome to the stage Braver Angels National Ambassador John Wood Jr. and April Lawson, our parliamentarian.
Hello, there we go. Yes, so here we are again. After a fabulous debate in this room just a couple of hours ago, the Platform Committee has once again worked their magic intensely over the course of literally an hour and have done their best to integrate the changes that were suggested. So I'd like to just sort of remind us of the process that we've walked through to get to this point before I explain the vote itself. So I'd like to ask who in this room received an email about how they could contribute input ahead of time? The answer is everyone. Yes. Who in this room had the opportunity to sign up for a Saturday morning platform feedback breakout? Yup, everybody. That's right. And I think most of you were at the platform debate as well. Point being, there has been a lot of input and a lot of opportunities for input that have gone into this. And so where we're at now is we're going to do an up-down vote. So we're closing the period of time when we're going to make changes. I know that some folks will see in this final draft their desired changes reflected, others will not. I know that partly because many of them were like directly contradictory. And so the Platform Committee has worked hard and has done its best. And what we're going to do now is in fact a vote on yes or no on whether we're going to adopt this platform. So here's the process for that. It's pretty simple. I am going to ask someone to move the previous question. So what I'll need is for somebody to raise their hand and say, for a motion. I'll call on them, and then they'll say, I move the previous question. I'll need somebody to second that. And then, assuming that motion passes, you can object if you want to, but it's just the motion to set us up for a vote. And then I will call for affirmatives, votes in the affirmative to adopt the platform, votes in the negative to not adopt the platform, and abstentions. So I think this is pretty straightforward. And so just to say that again, I'm going to look to somebody I know some of you are out here who are familiar with parliamentary procedure, just move the previous question, etc. So I'm looking for a motion. In the back.
I move the previous question.
Thank you. Is there a second? On clarification? Right. Oh, well, actually, I don't think I went through what happens if we adopt it or if we don't. Just the vote itself. Let me clarify. So moving the previous question means, which we've just done, means we're now going to vote. When I said you can object if you want to, what I meant was you can object to the idea that we're going to vote now. Feel free to vote against the platform. You should do that if it doesn't reflect the principles that you want to see us adopt, and that's where you are. But I think we're going to vote now, and so we're just doing the little parliamentary thing that gets us there. Oh, yes. Oh, you're going to see it. Do not worry. Do not worry. This guy's going to read it to you in just a second. We have the previous question having been moved and seconded. We're now going to have a reading of the platform, and then we'll vote.
Which I will commence with on this patriotic iPhone. First principles of the civic renewal movement. Today we come together to call for and lead a movement of civic renewal. Our country is being torn apart by civic rancor. Civic renewal requires that all people be treated with dignity and none be silenced. Civic renewal leads to healthy conflict, an accurate understanding of differences, and an interest in finding common ground. Civic renewal builds community and institutional trust, strengthening bonds and inspiring action among Americans. Civic renewal evokes surprise and joy at our finding each other again. Our movement was born in response to the crisis of polarization. a growing crisis that destroys trust, degrades public discussion, fosters isolation, and harms personal relationships. Polarization progressively undermines trust in our public institutions. Distrust of one another on the basis of politics continues to climb, and troubling trends in race, social, and class relations point to increasing conflict. From the birth of the movement, we have brought people together to improve our understanding of each other and practice healthy conflict where we disagree. We believe that difference is not polarization. We have stood for the importance of working together despite our differences in order to find common ground and for a love of country that demonstrates itself in the respect and concern we bear for our fellow Americans. This is the patriotic empathy that will break the grip of divisiveness and strengthen our common bonds. Today, we dedicate ourselves to the great task before us, to safeguard the spirit of our republic and to preserve its deepest unity. In our politics, let us work together when we agree and when we do not agree. Let us oppose one another in good faith. In the work of civic renewal, let us build trust among individuals and build institutions worthy of our trust. Let us labor together to discover and cherish our common heritage and identity as Americans. Let us strive as one toward the beloved community of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision and the more perfect union of the founders summiting, believing that America can live up to its best ideals. Reflecting America. We believe that to change our country, we must reflect its people. Thus, the rule of red-blue balance is foundational for all that we do. We gather as delegates from across the United States, equal numbers of reds and blues and many independents, and including a politically balanced network of more than 200 organizations. We come from and reflect the breadth of America. We affirm as foundational for our emerging movement the principle of political balance, in which red and blue leaders of our movement come together equally represented and on equal terms. Beyond reflecting the spectrum of political opinion, our movement must also strive to be inclusive in our membership and leadership of all walks and aspects of American life so that our movement reflects the country, renewing our hearts. The core of civic renewal is changing our hearts. We believe that to successfully depolarize the country, each of us must practice depolarizing ourselves. It is this personal transformation that lies at the heart of our movement for civic renewal. It is embracing the better angels of our nature that enables us to treat our fellow Americans with the same charity we desire for ourselves. Civic renewal calls us to love our enemies and provides a mirror when we fail. This requires our patience and humility. We, the people, depolarize ourselves, renew our trust in one another, and seek to spark civic renewal in our country of government by and for the people. Only changing ourselves from within can create a lasting cultural change in institutions, renewing our institutions. Renewing ourselves is fundamental and the first step toward orienting our institutions to civic renewal. Many of us, together, committed to civic renewal, may shift the institutions to which we belong. We commit ourselves to renewing our own institutions, government, education, media, community organizations, philanthropy, art, faith, communities, business, and labor. Each of these requires its own approach and attention to measurable outcomes. In the coming period, we commit ourselves to better understanding the measurable indicators of community and institutional change that will inform and guide our progress and success. Conclusion. We conclude with the conviction: with civic renewal, America can be a land of civic virtue and robust citizenship, where freedom rings, where civic friendship is not destroyed by political disagreement, where we are dedicated to the proposition that all people are created equal, As we gather on the 160th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg, we aspire to fulfill President Lincoln's dream that this government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
All right. So I encourage you to vote with your heart and your conscience. It will not be held against you if you vote for this, nor if you vote against it, nor if you abstain. All delegates may vote. And so now I'd like to call for all those who would like to vote to adopt this platform to raise your hands and keep them high. You're going to have to keep them up because we're having people count this, and there are quite a few of you. You can switch arms if you need to. But you may not put up both. Yes, whoever said that. Yeah, not both. You can vote too. You can vote. Yeah.
I would like to when they get to
You too? Yeah. Are you voting?
add, you got to add us too.
Thank you. You may put your hands down. Whew, I know. All those who would like to vote in the negative to not adopt the platform, again, you will not be judged. Please raise your hand. All right. And all those who will abstain, please raise your hand. All right, I need help counting these vote counters. All right.
All right. By a vote of 265 in favor to 1 not in favor to 18 abstentions, the platform passes. Congratulations on a very collaborative effort.
Now, if we could get Micah to come to the stage to sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
That was the great and the good Micah Christian, lead singer of Sons of Sarah. A member of Braver Angels for, I think, at least the last couple years, and my friend. Thank you. Oh no, but I gesticulate so much. Are we good now? If we, okay, I think we got. I think we got it. It's okay. One thing about Braver Angels is that technical difficulties do not slow us down. You know, there's something profoundly. Of course, we might need the handheld again. I don't know. Let me know if we do. There's something profoundly American about that, just in and of itself. You know, we are pretty hard on ourselves as a country. That is clear. Okay, we're gonna go with the handheld. Yeah. Woo! Okay.
Do I have to turn this off? Okay. Turn this on. Oh. We're gonna get through this, folks. Don't worry. Don't worry. Yes.
There's something profoundly American about that. You know, we are. It's important to remember this is a young country with the world's oldest constitution, oldest written constitution, but we are a young nation, right? And so we are hard on ourselves in this country in so many ways, in so many reasons. And we've got good reason to be self-critical, of course, but at the same time, we are still growing up. And there's nothing wrong with embracing the growing pains of life, whether as individuals or as nations. We ought not expect perfection. But having said that, and although there's been some agony and pain in the process of our getting to know each other and striving to do something that has never been done before in the history, perhaps, of American civic life in terms of producing an event like this, the last few days at this Braver Angels 2023 convention have produced moments that, for me at least, have been perfect in the sublime nature of just the joy that we have felt together.
So, as I stand here, it occurs to me that this day for me is a long time coming. Many of you know a bit about me. I won't bore folks with too much about my own biography at this point. But one thing that people will know is that, I come from a family that is mixed race and cross-partisan, and that is also differentiated by class in a very stark sort of way. I grew up in a community that was deeply multicultural, deeply diverse, where I had to find myself as a person who was black and white, grew up in Los Angeles, an urban community, but would travel back and forth to my grandparents' wealthy home, who received a great deal of Southern nostalgia and Southernness in his identity and lingo. I, found myself walking around LA, and people asking me, where can I find directions to, to the gas station up the street? And I said, well, you just head up over yonder here, hook a right at the McDonald's, and I reckon you'll find it okay. And so people say, okay, where the hell are you from? And at some point I looked up and remembered that, I guess I'm a bit of a Tennessean by association, right? Which is just another way of saying that, being coastal, being urban, being black, being white, being in a sense left and right, because Democrats and Republicans are just mom and dad for me. That's just another way of saying I'm an American, right? Because we are all of us each other. And in this sense, because all of these streams of the American experience go into making me, I am all of you, and all of you are me. That sounds Pollyannish. But the reality of the situation is this: the youngness of America, and the reason we need to have some grace and patience for ourselves, lies in the fact that even when you dig down deep beneath the idea of the United States of America as a project of self-governance, it is also a project of forming a family across the bitter divides of philosophical differences and the great chasms in our religious convictions and our geographic places of origin, our various ancestral nationalities, to come to a place where, in a deep commitment to freedom, liberty, and justice, but also love and goodwill for one another, we can look at somebody who does not look like us, does not think like us, does not believe like us, and say, that person is an American, that person is my neighbor, that person is my friend, that person is my brother or sister. We are family. E pluribus unum, we are one. And as a part of that we are redeemable. I enjoyed Governor Cox's appearance earlier. I don't know if I would vote for him or not. It doesn't really matter. I enjoyed his appearance because there was some humility in it. I am amazed. I listen to, and have listened for my whole life, to so many politicians, so many pundits, with nothing good to say about their opponents, with nothing good to say about people on the other side of the aisle, as if they themselves have nothing to apologize for, nothing to answer for, and yet we all do. We all do. None of us are perfect. None of us are free from mistakes, free from deep and bitter failings. And even if we think that the other folks have done worse and are more wrong than we are on any given thing, our capacity to look inward and take stock of the ways in which we are wrong, the ways in which we could treat each other better, ought to allow us to speak with grace and humility about folks who think and feel differently about things than we do. Because in doing this, we create the space for us to actually trust one another again. Who are these perfect people? Who are these perfect politicians? Who are these perfect Democrats, these perfect Republicans? These folks who say that the problem is just with everything else that everybody else does. These people don't exist. But we find ourselves in an environment in America where so many of us feel that the only way to stand up for the things that we truly believe in, for the things that are important, climate, justice, opportunity, the economy, the sovereignty of our borders, public health, national security, religious freedom, that the only way for us to stand up for these things that matter is to drink from the cup of bitterness. And I tell you that that is wrong. But it's not wrong just because I'm saying it. It's wrong because we here in this hall, and if we look at the greater arc of American history, can see the coming together of the American people across lines of difference in ways that show us that we have it within us, to treat each other better than we do, while still advocating for the things that are true. Our ability to do that is something that we have proven here, even if we've got a much longer way to go as a community, as an organization, as a movement, as a coalition of organizations. But we are proving to the United States of America, for everybody who is here to see us and everybody who will hear about this gathering, that it is possible for us to battle it out with each other on the things over which we disagree and emerge from those conflicts as friends. And so I want to point out that the work that we're doing, it is hard, y'all. It is hard. And sometimes, one thing that happens is we get so joyful, we get so happy about things, that sometimes some people might have a difficult time feeling like, well, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable or a little uneasy about something, or I actually, I like what this is, but I didn't feel good about that. I'm not sure I agree with this, and I'm afraid to say it because other people are having such a good time. Believe me, your discomfort is welcome. We all feel it. That is okay. If you had a moment, or if you've had a bunch of moments that left you feeling unsure about this whole, bringing Americans together from, all across the divide, that is perfectly natural. Part of the context of this convention here is that many of us were already having tough conversations about, well, if we're going to bring the American people together, should we be having front and center focused conversations about religion? Should we be talking about this civic project in explicitly religious terms? And then we had a plenary to open up our session that included beautiful testimony, in my opinion, from Elder Corbett of the Latter-day Saints, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And that was beautiful and moving for many, and also challenging for many, right? If you felt some discomfort with that, that is okay. There are many of us who are overjoyed that we were joined by Francis Collins, this nation's foremost public health authorities, and somebody who was a leader in our COVID-19 pandemic response, and somebody who many Americans also feel ought be challenged and held accountable by somebody who is his peer in science and public standing in the conversation, because many people do not trust the institutions that Dr. Collins represents. And therefore, some of us were frustrated by his presence here, or at least by some of the ways in which we held the conversation. If you feel that way, that is okay. It's okay to be skeptical, to have some doubt, to have some discomfort. And I haven't even gotten to Hawk Newsom. The truth is that, we're in a moment in our country where we are having to prove, sort of, in a sense, the mettle of the American experiment all over again. Because we have this grand and glorious sort of vision of America as one that has triumphed over prejudice, over division, over the forces that would limit our freedoms, time and time again, generation after generation. And because many of these victories are in the rearview mirror, Some of us take it for granted that they will always continue, while others of us look at the ways in which America has always fallen short and come to think that at some point this thing has got to fall apart because we're more diverse than we've ever been. We face obstacles that we've never faced before. We can talk about technology, we can talk about social media, we can talk about the incentive structure of our political media, of the political parties, all of the ways in which the system as it stands seems to divide us, right? And there are many people looking at this country thinking, there's no way these people can hold together for much longer. And when we look at the fact that we have so many Americans who do not trust the electoral process, do not trust the public health establishment, it is easy to get cynical. What we have to offer to the United States of America is hope, but not just hope. Hope with a vision and hope with a plan. There are a lot of people who don't know a lot about Braver Angels who think that all we do is talk. Talking is just where it begins, y'all. Talking is just where it begins. It didn't happen on accident. It didn't happen automatically that we were able to build a network of volunteers that spans all 50 states. A community that traverses the United States of America geographically and demographically. A community and a leadership that is evenly bipartisan, red and blue, that is making a deep and indelible difference in the culture of college campuses, that's introducing a way of thinking about our politics in the press, in the digital media, in local communities, in ways that expand our sense of what is possible in this society, in this democracy. That didn't happen by accident. It didn't happen with a lot of money, but it happened with a lot of people who believed. And we are just getting started. We cannot articulate the things that we know altogether. I mean, you can listen to me get up here and pontificate and use highfalutin words, and people say, John, you talk too long. I'll be like, I know, you're right. But we're trying to figure out how to say the things that we're feeling here, because we're trying to do something that has never really been done, to build a movement based on disagreement, but on the deeper common bonds of goodwill that link us. This really is about love, but love is idealistic and it is practical, because we cannot have a democracy if we do not love each other. Right? I'm not that naive, y'all. I know it may seem like it sometimes, but I'm not. Love is the only thing that holds my family together. Because to be honest, we don't agree on much. My mom and dad split early in my childhood. But even if it's from a distance, they still got love for each other. Me and my wife are from the same generation. We're both African American, but we come from distinctly different backgrounds and we disagree on a whole lot. But we are raising a family with 3 beautiful children. We are doing that through love. But love makes us take the time to understand one another, even when it's hard. And that's what Americans have to do, right? See, the thing is that we have to have a lot of empathy for folks who are locked in the culture wars, I believe. I take Governor Cox's point that, Americans are arguing about a lot of things that don't matter on Twitter. And yet, if it moves you to outrage, if it moves you to be upset, well, it matters to you and it matters for a reason. I might not ever agree with your reason, but it helps me to understand the story that lies behind you, that lies behind you seeing the world the way that you do. Here at Braver Angels, we're not even saying that people's opinions are right or wrong. We can't. The opinion map in this room spans the spectrum. But what we're saying to America and what we're saying to the media, what we're saying to the politicians is that when we talk about each other, let's not reduce each other to stereotypes. Let's talk in terms of the stories that actually show who we are. Because our leaders ought to be doing that. They ought to be doing that, but that's okay, because even if they don't, we will. So with this civic renewal movement, it gives we the people the opportunity to take the first step in showing the better angels of our nature. And as we build these relationships of trust with each other, We create the space to challenge one another in a way that allows us to eventually get to the point of truth. Because despite what people may say, truth matters at Braver Angels. We just know that you can't get to truth without trust. We have to trust each other. You know, I only know them so well, but I love Francis Collins and I love Hawk Newsom. I see him as being made in the image of God. I see him as being my brothers. And I can't say that they're right or wrong on this, that, or the other. I have my own opinions, and if you ask me privately, I'll share them, right? But I know that whatever you think of them as public figures, they only are who they are because they represent the views of millions of Americans. Doesn't matter who you point to in that way. You know, every person you see is a face that reflects the points of view and experience of many, many other people. And so that should give us some pause before we come to rush to judgment of one another in personal terms. And yet, if we don't come to a point in this country where we can restore trust in the electoral system, in our elections, where we can restore trust in the public health establishment, not to mention the media, not to mention the political parties, we won't have a democracy to defend. Debate is a part of this. And this is why, in the interest of building trust between the American people, we make space for us to challenge each other because it matters, because it's necessary, right? But again, it starts with us seeing each other as human beings. If we skip that step, we can build nothing on top of it. Now, it's worth saying that, you know, it might seem like I'm up here talking big game. That's my job. I really do believe that Braver Angels can change America for the better in a way that delivers us to a greater future, in part by hearkening back on the best things from our past, that we can do this together. But even though this hall is mostly full, and even though we had a jam-packed convention, 700 people, 12,000 members, 2,500 active volunteers, yeah, maybe we've got, maybe we've got 85, 90 college campuses, maybe we've got 100 local alliances, maybe we've got a good thing going. Yes, absolutely, it's wonderful. But this is a country of 300 some odd million people. And you might think, well, God, isn't this just a drop in the bucket compared to that? Here's the thing. People have a sense of social change as being something that only matters if it's loud and explosive and gets people mobilized by the millions overnight in anger and in outrage, shouting loud and drowning people out, right? And sometimes social movements are like that, of course. That's a fantastic thing. We are few, but we are mighty. And the movement that we are building is one that I do believe will reach many, many, and many more. But it's also worth reckoning with the fact that we are building something that will endure over time. A movement isn't just a landslide or a rock slide. It's also taking a small seedling, nurturing it with love and grace, with light and water, watching it sprout up into a sapling before it becomes a mighty oak, something that can withstand the winds and the rains of hatred and vitriol and prejudice and bitterness. Something that can be a refuge for people in the storm when we lose trust in the institutions around us, when we feel that the prevailing narratives in our society don't see us, don't acknowledge our humanity, when we feel that there's no place to turn. There are some Americans who are building something that is giving space for people to show up and be their full selves, to talk about the issues that matter and to innovate solutions that can actually work. This is slow, durable, disciplined work. It starts with modesty, with humility, with a small seed and sapling, but it'll grow into a mighty oak that America will see. And if you believe in it, it'll be visible from a distance, and it will make the difference in the United States of America. Because of you. Because of you. Because you had the courage to believe that there was something redeemable in the person that you disagreed with. because you had the courage to look at the person who has a different bumper sticker than you, a different t-shirt than you, your mother, your father, or a stranger who you hardly ever knew anything about before, but you knew that there was something in that person that wasn't any different from you, and therefore they were worth talking to. Imagine that way of thinking becoming the norm on our college campuses. Imagine that way of thinking becoming predominant in our digital media and eventually our political media, because there's a groundswell of Americans who are calling upon those who define the narratives in our politics to see the truth about who we are. Imagine that patriotic empathy taking root in the Democratic and Republican parties, because you've got people who, yes, vote left and vote right, but who in their heart of hearts know that more important than that is the fact that they are Americans. And because they are Americans, they are willing to see the best in each other. And Braver Angels is the reason that gives them the place to come to organize on behalf of that consciousness and on behalf of that way of thinking. You guys can move the parties if you bring this way of thinking into them. Because Democrats and Republicans alike love America. We've just got to remember to love each other. You know, I am just honored, really, and inspired to be with all of you. I've served as Braver Angels National Ambassador for 5 years or so. And I look forward to being a part of this community, being a part of this family for 50 more. I don't know what's going to happen in the 2024 election, y'all. I don't know everything that's coming down the pike. I know it's going to be some stuff, right? I know it's going to be some stuff. And whatever happens, we're going to have to deal with it. But I do know, even ahead of time, and I just say it as a statement of faith, and you don't have to be religious to agree with me. The United States of America will emerge better. We will emerge better. We will. We will emerge better because the antibodies of grace and goodwill are circulating through the bloodstream of the body politic, and you see that here. Again, this is not an accident, you know. And 50 years from now, I expect to see thriving alliances all around the country, holding gatherings like this, not just in one city in America every year, but in every state across America every year, potentially. I expect to see thriving communities of folks doing what the good people at Bridge USA, the vanguard, the Gen Z vanguard of the civic renewal movement, are doing day after day, although with dozens of students, hundreds of students, thousands and 10,000 of students across America, until we get to the point to where it's just normal to talk to people you disagree with, because that's what it means to be an American. I look forward to the day to where we just sort of take it for granted that we're willing to engage and empathize with each other, because that's normal. They've been doing it for years. Years ago, there was a small, scrappy group of folks. They called themselves Braver Angels, and they had this highfalutin sort of idea of civic renewal and this kind of naive sort of idea of patriotic empathy, but they plugged that into an infrastructure of social change, and holy cow, did that not change things in a way that we all remember. Now we're on to a better class of problems. So don't underestimate your own power. Because, believe me, when I say, as we stand in this place where so much blood was spilled, in a moment in time where you could have easily imagined that the American experiment was at a bitter and a devastating end. That was 160 years ago. 100 years after that, a man with a prophetic voice led a march on Washington where he called the American people to see the best in the shadow of that great American, to see a path towards the glittering daybreak of freedom and justice and equality, leading us towards this vision of what American can be from the wellspring of love deep within his heart and the heart of a movement of people who believed that love was a power that could transform the hearts of the prejudiced, of the ignorant, of those who had been fed a false narrative about their humanity, because that was what it meant to honor the true legacy of this nation's founding, because this was a country, and this is a country founded on the idea that all men are created equal, and they had only to remind us of the inheritance that we have, to tap back into that conscience, to make it a reality 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was proclaimed. Justice was overdue, but justice would not be denied. But it was social change that flows from love, that flows from a willingness to hear one another, to understand one another, to suffer and sacrifice alongside each other, right? And so we have it within us to do just that. This has been an amazing experience, y'all. This has been an amazing experience. But I want everybody here to realize that it really is just the beginning. It really is. You are leaving a legacy in this place, in this moment of time. What we do here today will grow. It will grow. And if we take the Spirit with us and remember that the way we think about one another, the way that we speak to each other, the courage with which we reach out to one another, with a willingness to humanize one another, and the courage to speak truth both to power and to our friends, but in a spirit that recognizes the human dignity of everybody in the conversation. If we show the American people how to do that, if we build the structures that make it possible for them to do that, this will be a movement that transforms the conscience of America for all time to come. It has happened before. It will happen again. Because this is the American way. This is the Braver Angels way. And that is my time. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
I think he's got a future.
Maybe. I gotta know what to do with the mic.
Just set it down. My brother, my friend, John Wood Jr., National Ambassador. Thank you so much, my friends, because what we have done here this week is monumental. What we have done here is brave. The conversations that have been had, the people that we have had an opportunity to see and speak with, the ideas that have been tossed around, the conversations done with curiosity, humility, candor, so much beauty, so many things have happened here over the past 4 days that many people don't even understand are possible, but we did it. You know, I don't only want to thank you for being you and doing what you've done here. We all want to give a special thank you to the Braver Angels staff,
Absolutely.
the Braver Angels volunteers, just the work that has gone into this, and the people that have done what they have done to make this happen are absolutely incredible.
Absolutely.
They just are, you gotta stand up.
Yeah, please do.
Give 'em- You know, we've come to the time for our final adjournment. And we want to share that the next thing we'll do is, I don't know, I'm just amazed at everybody that's here. And I don't generally find myself at a loss for words, but I'm shaking right now because I'm just so impressed by what's been done. Go ahead.
No, I know how you feel. I absolutely know how you feel. I felt like I just got out of church. And I am not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person, but it was amazing. And it's really hard to even crystallize thoughts around it. Yeah, I know how you feel. I can tell you that I did not know what to expect when I came across the country from California to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. But what I have seen over the last 4 days, I have seen courage, I have seen vulnerability, I have seen discomfort, I have seen fatigue, I have seen sadness, I have seen joy, and I have seen unity.
Yeah.
Unity. And I am so proud of the work that you all have done here. I'm so proud of the work the staff has done, the volunteers have done. So many people have come together to bring this into being, and it's a magical thing. The conversations, and I think one of the things that I'm most proud of is the way you took care of each other. I saw you take care of each other. I saw you hold each other, embrace each other's ideals, and acknowledge the humanity that John talked about and the dignity that we all believe in and those shared values that we've now ratified. We did some really, really important work here, and we all know that it starts within, but we can't do it without the people in this room. And you all brought that. And I just am so... I'm proud to be here, and I'm proud to have been a part of it. And I can say that I am representing the 2,500 cities, counties, and special districts in California. But even if I wasn't, I would want to be here for my own soul and for my own self. And so I will be here, chair or no chair, in 2024, because I think it's an important thing that we do for this republic. It's an important thing that we do for this country. And for me, it's an important thing that I do for my soul. And I think it has been my honor. So many of you said thank you to me for my leadership, and I say thank you to you for your leadership. Thank you.
So the next thing we're going to do is we're all going to get together and we're going to sign the newly ratified platform. There are going to be signing stations set up.
You can see them over here.
Over there and over there. We're going to sign the newly ratified platform. And then once we adjourn, please make your way to, or after we adjourn, make your way to one of these signing stations to sign your name, just like the Americans at the founding convention.
Yeah. This is optional, of course, but if you want to do this, you are welcome to. But first, because we are a group that likes process, and because you've been practicing it all day, we have to do an adjournment process. And so
that'll come
after, yes.
After the signing.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
So after we adjourn, then you sign. Okay.
What's going on?
So they've already signed. Yeah.
Oh, did he?
He wanted to be first.
I hope he signed it lukewarm, isn't he?
Did he sign it lukewarm? I'm kind of surprised that it was him and not Bill. Where's Bill? I've been ribbing Bill this whole time. I had to get in one last dig. All right, so the adjournment process, we'll walk you through it. You might already be ready for it. We are going to need someone to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion noted.
Do we have a second?
We have a second. This meeting is adjourned.
All in favor?
Are all in favor? Anybody? Never mind. Nobody opposed.
This convention is adjourned. Oh no.